1 o'clock Eastern time. So we're back here on LinkedIn Live talking about workplace topics. I'm Liz Ryan, the CEO and founder of Human Workplace, which is a publishing, content, and consulting coaching firm. And our mission is to reinvent work for people. So here on LinkedIn Live, I talk about how to run your career, how to create a great culture in your organization, how to get a job, how to hire people, leadership, HR, entrepreneurial, and workplace and career topics. So, yeah, our topic today is reinvention after 50. So, welcome. We're going to talk about reinvention after 50. Leave a comment and just tell us where you're joining us from. You can also use the comment area to ask me questions, and I'll answer as many questions as I can. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Dean. Hey. And we're going to talk about reinvention after 50. So is there anything magical about the age 50 that means we should start talking about reinvention after 50 and not 49 or 46 or 32? No, not really. But I talk about reinvention after 50 because for some reason that number 50, the half century mark, it just looms so large for so many people. And they feel like, this is where I start to have problems. I actually hear from a lot of people who feel like their age is a factor in their job search or their career plans or their life at work earlier than 50. And I remember having concerns and doubts when I was getting close to 50, like, what does this mean? Part of it is that we don't, because our culture is changing so fast, we don't really have lots of archetypes, lots of role models for people who are over 50 doing what they want to do, making changes, reinventing themselves. We have some, Madonna springs to mind, but most of us don't necessarily feel like we have tons in common with her, right? So we're looking at this topic. What does it mean to reinvent yourself after 50 or 60 or 70 or 80? And how do we step into that? And what do we need to think about as we look at this topic, reinventing at a certain age? So let me look at some of the comments and just say hi. Hi, hello, Jessica. Thanks for being here. And thanks, everyone. Saeed, thank you for being here. Terry from Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain. So happy you're here. Lisa, Karen, hello from Albuquerque and Texas and Tampa and Chicago, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Nigeria, hello, and Virginia Beach, so beautiful out there, right by the water, and Abu Dhabi, and Dallas, and Afghanistan. I got to get more songs. Of course, Renee, we got, start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. And Michigan and why 50? Great question, Trudy. Why 50? Yeah, there's nothing magical about 50, but for a lot of people, 50 hits like with a force. It's a half century. I've been alive. It's hard to explain to our children or maybe grandchildren like how things were. It feels like you've seen a lot and you've done a lot. The weird thing is that we struggle in our culture in the US or in the West, perhaps, to ground this idea of turning 50 or 45 or whatever age in the wisdom that is typically associated with more years on the planet. And we tend to go often to this negative, like I'm too old and I can't reinvent, or if I'm looking for a job, why would companies want me? They'll want someone younger. And by the way, folks, this is not something personal with you. This is in our culture. I always say that there are invisible loudspeakers everywhere you go, screaming negative messages at you. So of course, we get down on ourselves or we doubt ourselves, of course, because we are told to do that and taught to do that. And I think it really gets worse as people get older. So part of this idea of reinventing after 50 or pick any other age is climbing out of that brainwashing, climbing out of those old tapes in our head that say, oh, well, who are you to think you can start a business or start a whole new career or create some adventure at your age? At what age? What does age have to do with it? I'm more equipped now, right? I'm more equipped. because I've seen more and I've done more and I've surmounted more. But we have to tell ourselves that, because often that message does not come at us from the world in general, right? If you have an experience of that, feel free to just drop it in the comments. Deborah, your question: will this be recorded? Yes. You have an appointment. Go to your appointment. This will be on LinkedIn for several days, 3 or 4 days. Reinvention after 60, you know it, Robert. Absolutely. Hi, Nichelle from Boston. So happy you're here. BC in the house. Mary Lou, so glad you're here. New Jersey, Susan, my home state. Texas, and should I come back when I'm over 50? That's cute. No, you know what? Here's the thing. If you feel or have experienced, that's right, Carolyn. Look at Joe Biden. Look at Julia Child. So many people that stepped out at whatever age, and more all the time. Really, the science of aging, if we ever want to talk about that, has made such unbelievable strides. Everything from creams to put on your face and your skin to just keeping your body healthy longer and longer. It's dramatic. I don't know about you folks, but I remember my grandparents when I was a little kid were just a completely different. It was a different 50. It was a different 60. Drastically different. Their lifestyle and what messages they had taken on board about what they could do at those ages and how they were supposed to be and how they were supposed to dress and all that. Right? It's dramatic in the intervening couple of generations since then. But stepping into this territory of being your own 50 or your own 60 or your own 70, that's reinvention too, right? So let's talk about what is reinvention after 50, realizing that the number is just a placeholder for whatever age where you might feel a little, is that a problem? Am I still viable? Am I still marketable? Now, look, my inbox is deluged with all kinds of questions, but one of the big questions is, am I too old to fill in the blank? Start a new career path, go back to school, start my own business, go for a promotion at work. Sometimes we go along and then bing, a light bulb goes off. I want to write a book. I want to be a supervisor. I've been in this job 18 years. Now I want to be a supervisor. And you know what? I have a really clear sense about what being a supervisor would be like. And I'm not sure I was right for it 18 years ago, but now I know I am. And you get that message. Where's that message coming from? Right? It depends who you follow. Some people would say your gut and the millennia over which your trusty gut evolved to guide you and keep you safe. Some people would say God. Some people would say Mother Nature. Some people would say the laws of physics. It's whatever system it speaks to you. I want you to listen to that voice. That voice is a very, very good guide for you especially when we have these messages coming in that say, no, you can't. How dare you? Why do you think you're all that? Right? We get a lot of negativity out there. And so we have to talk back to it and say, why shouldn't I? What is the downside after all to trying to go after what I want and actually to devote the time and energy to thinking about what do I want? Maybe I never had the opportunity to do that before. And maybe I do now. A lot of people experienced during the initial days of COVID and the lockdown and the quarantine and all that. It was hard to get a job for a lot of folks, or people got laid off, or they got disenchanted with their job, or they couldn't keep their job for one reason or another. And people were saying, if it's gotten so hard to do the thing that wasn't what I love, why don't I just take this opportunity to try to do what I do love? Let me just try to do what I love, because one of the messages we definitely got from this pandemic is life is short and you gotta step. You gotta do something that's important to you. Yes, of course, we have to pay the bills. Of course, we may have people who depend on us, elders or children or others. Of course, it goes without saying, but also in there, is there a kernel or a nugget that we can embrace and exalt and grow of what you really want to be and to become in your life? Okay, so that's our topic, reinvention after 50. So let's talk about what reinvention is, because the word gets thrown around a lot. Sometimes people use the word reinvention to refer to career change. I'm reinventing. I was a physical therapist and now I'm going to be a real estate agent. Hey, that's reinvention and it's really cool. And here's the characteristics of reinvention. It's exciting to look forward to and it's scary. Those are the two characteristics. Reinvention is a physical process that happens with every living thing, from plants and unfortunately viruses to every kind of animal and us. And we are animals, like it or not. There's some good aspects to that, right? Reinvention is a natural process from nature, right? It is not something that we control all the way, although I'm going to teach you today how to align with those forces that are bearing down on you and nudging you into reinvention. Reinvention is a physical process from nature that happens to everyone at some point. And sometimes it can feel exhilarating and cool and fun, and sometimes it can feel absolutely devastating and terrifying. For example, when you lose your job suddenly and you weren't expecting to, happens all the time. It's happening to folks right now, and they just go to fear right away because, of course, if you weren't expecting to have to worry about a job or a job search, and then all of a sudden you're down at the level of how much money do I have in the bank? Do I have enough for the rent next month? Of course, you're going to be in fear. And there's almost always some level of fear or discomfort in reinvention. So, as much as it's fizzy and fun to talk about, reinvention has a difficult side. And here's the thing: it is actually the getting through the difficult part that grows our muscles, makes us stronger, and equips us for the rest of the reinvention to come. Reinvention is not, I rebranded myself, I have new business cards. That's cool. But unless it gets you physically, right, and really stops you in your tracks and forces you to look at what's important to you and forces you to step through and trudge through what I call the desert of reinvention, the hard part where you don't know what the right answer is, you don't have a plan, it's confusing, you feel lost. Do I sound negative? This is the growth period. It's actually out in the desert that we get all the learning because we're open to possibilities, which is something we normally are not. When you have a job and you do your job and you go to work and you do the thing and you have the department and the budget, you don't stop and think. That's fine. You're in a different mode. You're in go-go mode. I got a meeting. We got this product launch. Bada bing, bada boom. It's only when Mother Nature says, and stops you in your tracks, job goes away, or it becomes untenable, or you notice that there's no more work in your consulting business. You're gonna have to change it up and do something new. It's you don't sleep, right? It's like, oh, I'm afraid. I don't know what the future holds. Reinvention. Welcome to reinvention. You will get through it. And you know what? When you get to the other side of the desert of reinvention, you're going to be glad you went through it. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Telling you as your sister or your auntie here. Yes, you will. I have some reinvention in my recent past of a move. We moved from Colorado to the East Coast. What big deal, right? So what? It was big. It was disruptive. There were some unexpected hurdles along the way. We spent 14 weeks in hotels. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. Whatever hotel was available and moving constantly, a couple times a week. Like, can't get straight, I realize in the whole scheme of things, this is not a big problem, but try it. Try it sometime and then tell me what you think about it. Doubting major life decisions. Just let me get through today. Oh, I'm eating at Panera again. That sounds awesome. Not knowing where we're going to land, not knowing if we're going to find a place or how we're going to deal, plan B, plan C, plan Q, going down Maslow's hierarchy. You're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy to like, where are we going to sleep? And the low point of this journey that we went through was There was a hurricane. There were two hurricanes and a tornado. Yeah, not common for this area, but the whole world climate is not normal now, right? So we get this hurricane warning. So we go to rescue our middle son who's out by the water in school, and we get him. And our hotel isn't going to be ready for us till 3 in the afternoon, and it's like 8 in the morning. And so we drive to a coffee spot that we know in the town, actually, where I grew up. And we're parked, and my son and I are crashed in the car. He's got his trombone next to him, and I'm just like this with a blanket. And my husband goes to the coffee shop, and these two ladies are walking by on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, and they look in the car, and one says to the other, totally audibly, "Oh, those people are in their sleeping in their car. I've heard of that. They're sleeping in their car. They've got Colorado license plates. They probably crossed the whole country, sleeping in parking lots. Oh my God, it's here. It's come to our town." I'm like dying in the car. I wanted to jump out and say something to this lady, but I thought, this is part of it. This is part of the desert. This is part of feeling completely and utterly out of your element to a ridiculous degree. And there's nothing to do except carry on and take a breath and get to the hotel when they're finally ready for us, and go on and go on and go on. And luckily, we're in a better place now. But reinvention has a tough part. And here's the thing: animals do it. Animals go through reinvention. A snake sheds its skin and crawls out of the old, uncomfortable skin that was constraining it. Doesn't that sound kind of familiar? You crawl out of the skin that is keeping you locked into a place you're too big for. It's not right for you anymore. Could be a job, could be a relationship, could be a living situation, right? In our case, a state, right? Okay, it's great. It was great, but now it's time for something new. A great example that I love in reinvention is hermit crabs. You know, hermit crabs, they're crabs. They often live on the beach or near water, and they have a shell. They don't have their own shell, so they grab a discarded shell from a shellfish. And you see them with these different shells on their back. You can buy them in the store, sometimes painted shells, painted in all different crazy colors. But out in nature, they grab a discarded shell of some what do you call crustacean? I don't know, some little shellfish, and they use the shell, but then that shell gets too small because the crab is still growing, and the hermit crab has to get out of the shell that's too small and run across the beach, which is exposed, and they're just out there, and a predator could grab them because they have no tough shell to protect them, and then they have to look for a bigger shell that is going to be their home for some period of time. And I love this analogy of the hermit crabs out there on the beach exposed, because that's reinvention. That's the desert. In their case, the beach, but it's sand. And they're saying, I can't believe this. I can't believe I'm out here. I've been a hermit crab all this time. I thought I had things figured out in the hermit crab world and lifestyle. And now I'm out here, and I just feel afraid, and I don't know where the next shell is going to be. And I'm not sure I'm going to find it. And it's really scary. So let's do a little mock interview with the hermit crab on the beach, right? So we get a feel for reinvention from their perspective. So hermit crab, you're out on the beach. I heard you were on the beach. Yeah, I had to get out of my shell. It was too small. I couldn't sleep. It wasn't working for me. I was squashed, and it was hurting, and I didn't want to do it. I hated to do it. I resisted it with every fiber of my being, but I had to get rid of the shell. I don't know what happened to the shell, but I am out here on this beach, and let me tell you something, it is scary. Well, you've always found a great shell before. Matter of fact, you're one of the best shell pickers I know. You're worried? Of course I'm worried, because there's predators on this beach, and there's these, huge, like, human people, and the kids with the pails and the shovels, and it's scary. I mean, I am like terrified. And the friend says, "Okay, look, you're terrified, but I just want to reassure you. Every hermit crab goes through this. You're going to be fine. You're going to find an awesome shell. I have 100% confidence in you." Hermit crab says, "I'm glad you have confidence in me, because right now I don't have that confidence." And the friend says, "I just went through this 6 months ago. You're going to get that shell, and you're going to be right back to where you were. As a matter of fact, you're going to be better off, because you're going to have room to grow. You're going to have room to grow." The desert is the hard part, but it's where all the learning is. It's where all the ideas come. Maybe I could try this. Maybe I could try that. Maybe I should have my own business. Maybe I should get out of not-for-profits and go into startups. Maybe I should get out of startups and go into not-for-profits. It's where all the fertile stuff comes, is when we don't know the answer. Because let's face it, in life, we often, if not always, choose security. And no one could blame us because it's scary out there on the beach. But sometimes we also feel an urge not to burrow into the ground, but to soar. The burrow is confining too, right? Maybe we want to try soaring. What's the worst that could happen? Maybe now is the time to soar. I'm going to take a break and look at some of these comments. So we got all kinds of hellos from everywhere, which is absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So, Andrew, on a resume, because I was in the military, thank you for your service. It shows I was in the military in 1980, and I believe this is showing my age, and I'm having age discrimination. Your thoughts? Yeah. I'm going to talk. Thank you. I'm going to talk about age discrimination in 1 minute because it's a very big deal, and it's a real thing that affects a lot of us. Hello from Chicago, that toddle in town. This topic is touching every part of my soul as I change careers. I'm so glad to hear it. That's why I'm here. Hello from Cape Town and Calgary. Flames. Age is just a number. Isn't that the truth? Hello from Sao Paulo. London, a bit more than 50 now. Well, you're a baby to me. If you're in your late 50s, I could have babysat for you, but you're just turning 50, then you're too young even for that. So keep in mind, from where I sit, Janice, you are a toddler. 50 is nothing. 50 is the new 30. I mean that. 50 is the new 30. It means, okay, I have some idea of who I am. And 30 is the new 32. Nothing against my 30-year-old siblings here. But 50 is the new 30. 70 is the new 40. Unfortunately, amongst some peers, health issues are of concern, and I'm thinking I need to make more of my life. So if I'm looking to my employer to cut down to 3 days a week so I can pursue vocational and leisure activities, I'm not sure if my request will be granted, but it will make a big difference to my life. So I don't want to wait until it's too late to do this. There's no too late. So put that out of your mind. There is no too late to make a request like that when I go from 5 days to 3. Secondly, if they don't do it, you won't necessarily stay. We are taking control of our careers now. You might love them, and maybe you ask them once, they need to think about it, and you ask them again in a couple of months, and they need to think about it. But you're either going to get signs that what you want and need is doable over time, and maybe there's some negotiation, some flexibility on both sides, or you get signs it's not going to happen, and then, right, maybe you're not there until you retire, because that's the other thing that has gone away in my lifetime. Gone away. My dad worked for the same company for 35 years. That's what all the dads did, because it used to just be dads mostly going to work. And now that's gone. It's not going to happen. Welcome from Bangladesh. I went from interior decorator to farmer. How beautiful is that, Sharon? Hats off to you. That's magnificent. Hello, hello. Okay, let's see questions. Knocking on 50's door, your infant, not born. I'm joking. And as I explore opportunities, keep running into the overqualified, understaffed. Let's get to that. It's really, really good. 60 was it for me, but after 3 years of parent caregiving, I'm ready to get started again. I'm ready to look after the babies. Give me some grandbabies. That's fantastic, Sharon. We're going to talk about that. I got a job recently being a director. I tried this type of position twice, but it's finally coming to fruition. Good for you, Dawn. Good for you. Do not give up. From Dawn's mouth to your ears. It's so hard to convince people that your skills are almost directly transferable. Okay, we've got a lot to talk about. Okay, I'm so glad to hear these stories. Whether you feel like you're struggling in the desert right now, or whether you have an inspirational story about, like, Dawn, I did it. I've made the change. Now I'm a farmer. I'm doing what I want to do. It's just absolutely great to hear from you. Okay. So we said, what is reinvention? It's a physical process that all living things go through. And we talked about the hermit crab. And I want you to feel that analogy, that story, that you have been there and you will be there again, out on that beach. And I want your past reinventions to inform you when you're out on the beach or in the desert of reinvention the next time, like, I will get through this. Is it hard? Yes. Is it stressful? It's pretty stressful. I wish it were not so stressful. And at the same time, I have the life experience to get through it. I know I will. And I know I'm going to come out in the right place because I have trust in this universe and me, and whatever you follow in your faith tradition, you're going to be fine. Going to say that 47 is the new 30. I'm with you there, Jessica. 47 is the new 30. At most, might be the new 17, right? Okay, so reinvention is this thing that happens. And so what do we do about it if we know it's going to happen? Or if it's thrust on us, foisted on us, we don't want it. It's unwelcome. The first thing is to say, look, things happen in life all the time that we don't like. And our strength and our conviction comes from the fact that we've surmounted other, maybe bigger obstacles before. And I know I'm going to be fine. And I know that I have to do two things. One is stay in my body. That's where my strength is, not in my head. Oh my gosh, what about this? What about that? Oh my gosh, I forgot about the thing. Could I cash in my life insurance? Blah, 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 blah. Ooh, calm down. Deep breath. There's a lot of ways to do breathing. We could do breathing here, or you could look online and find your favorite breathing technique. But here's just a really, really simple one. Slow in breath, like 4 counts, and hold it for 4, and out. And if the out breath takes longer, it's perfectly fine because you are not in a hurry. Conscious breathing, intentional breathing slows down your heart rate and lets you think clearly again. You know how it is when you're panicky, when you're anxious, you can't think right and you don't see possibilities. So I want you, if you're in reinvention, contemplating it, feel like it might be coming, right? Get a journal. Get a journal, some kind of notebook you like to write in. Hey, buddy. And you are going to start writing in your journal. Here's what I'm feeling today. Here's what I'm experiencing. Here's how it's going with my reinvention, my job search, my entrepreneurial adventure, figuring stuff out with my living situation, whatever it is, my move, my creative step forward, the book I'm writing, my podcast, anything at all. Embrace the scary part because that's where the learning is. That's how we grow the muscles, right? We don't grow any muscles by delving into little things and dabbling on the side. That's fine. It could be fun and it could be enriching for you. I have nothing against that. But reinvention means going all the way down to the terror. What if this is the biggest mistake I ever made? It's not. When you have a choice between doing what you've been doing and trying something new, I'm going to always nudge you to try something new because you don't learn anything or grow any muscles by doing what you've been doing. It feels like security, but look, is it really security? When I was growing up, staying in one job for 30 years was security. That's not security anymore. We become less marketable after a certain period of time in a job, less marketable because we have to explain, well, did you actually have 20 years of experience or did you have 1 year of experience repeated 20 times? We've got to keep learning and growing like all living things. So reinvention is going to actually become something that we get comfortable with. So reinvention after 50, again, there's nothing magical about that number, but it is an age that many people identify as where they start to feel weird about their age or face other people feeling weird about their age unfairly. And so a couple of people in the comments asked about age discrimination. Age discrimination is when you don't get a job that you're qualified for because of your age and no other reason. And it happens. It's not uncommon. In the United States, it's illegal for employers to discriminate against people because of their age, specifically over the age of 40. But it still happens. People have biases and they will not hire you because of your age. And it's absolutely horrible, not to mention illegal and unethical. So, what do you do about it? If you face that, if you run into it, well, it is, as I mentioned, against the law, and you can file a discrimination claim in the US with your state Department of Labor or the federal agency, EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. You can file a claim online. And I know lots of people who have done it. It's a real project. It's not a little something to toss off. It's a real project, and you have to really believe in the process of doing it because it is grueling. And if they respond to you, they're going to ask you for documentation and so on, and it can take months. And I don't mean to be negative because it's people who fight age discrimination this way that can to some degree impact the way organizations attend and pay attention to and take care with candidates of a certain age as well as employees, but it's not easy. And many people conclude, I don't need to teach this organization a lesson. I'm not going to probably get any money from them or a job. I'm going to go on and pursue my job search under the theory that only the people who get me deserve me. And I am not here to be back and forth with lawyers. You would have to probably pay a lawyer, by the way, if the case goes anywhere. It's not, employment laws in the US are not great, and enforcement is not great either. So I don't like to center the age discrimination conversation around fighting it, because really in the clinch, in a specific situation with one employer, there's not a lot to do. But the idea at a higher altitude that you have tremendous, tremendous value to offer to an employer, to a team, to an organization, to its customer, and that you are out there looking at a number of different ones, looking for the people who resonate at your frequency, looking for the people who see your talent. That is your journey, not convincing someone who doesn't see those things, which are very obvious to me and everyone who gets you, right? Your precious and finite emotional energy, what I call your flame, is not something to squander trying to get people to see what you bring, because there are other people, over 7.5 billion people in the world, right? And you're going to go in search of the people who get you, not fuss and argue with people who don't. Somebody says, I think that you might be a little too experienced for this stuff. Great, thank you. Gone. They are out of your mind, and they're not going to live rent-free in your head. You're not going to lay in bed and say, I wonder what they didn't like about me. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? They are no one. They're not going to even get a mention in the screenplay about your life, okay? Not going to get a mention. And there could be a lot of them. And this is how people with the intestinal fortitude to say, okay, they're not into me. Great. Because I don't have time to sell anyone on the idea of working with me. I'm off to the next one. I told you a couple weeks ago, we were talking about consulting. There's a saying in the entrepreneurial community, some will, some won't. So what? Next. They're not, yeah. It's hard to win an age discrimination case. Listen to this. This is how bad it is. I don't mean to be negative, but we live in the United States. We need to understand these laws are not in our favor. Gentleman made an age discrimination charge. He thought it was open and shut because they said to him and did not deny saying, oh, he's a little long in the tooth. Long in the tooth means old in American slang, vernacular. Long in the tooth because your gums recede and your teeth appear to be longer. They're the same length they always were, but you see more of them. So that's an old-fashioned expression for long. Oh, this gentleman's long in the tooth. That means old. Who would say that in the hiring process? What an idiot, right? But they did, and they didn't deny it. Maybe it's good they did. They said it. So they put it out there. Oh, thank you for showing me your prejudice. He filed a charge and he lost. They said, oh, well, them saying he's long in the tooth doesn't mean that's why they didn't hire him. But they didn't hire him, and they mentioned his age. Are you kidding me? This is why if you want to file a charge and you feel like that's the right and moral thing to do, God bless, you should totally do it. But in many situations, it's going to be a matter of some will, some won't. So what? Next. Because I don't want you spending your precious and finite energy trying to convince somebody to see what everyone else can see in you, right? Or the right people can see in you. So what's possible in reinvention after 50 or at a younger age or older age? What's possible? Well, you could get a new job. You could take a new role in your current organization. You could start something on the side something maybe creative or a business. You could start a podcast. You could start a sewing circle. You could write a book. It's almost endless what you could do. You could you could go to a new company, you could go to school, or you could start a company. It doesn't stop, it doesn't end. And this is part of what this reinvention is getting a journal and starting to write in it and letting the ideas flow down and not restricting them and not censoring them and letting them come as don't force them, but just allowing space for those ideas to come down to say, what is possible in my life? One of the things that happens around age 50 is people start to figure out my parents are older, they're infirm, or they're leaving us. And that's really hard, but it also reminds me my lifetime is also finite, like all of them. And I need to really focus on what's important to me. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. There are gifts that we get for turning 50. Gift of common sense for a lot of people, gift of wisdom for a lot of people, right? The gift of charitable thoughts towards people we might have felt anger or rancor towards before, the gift of maybe seeing things with a new perspective, maybe the gift of believing in ourselves just because we've been through so much that there's not too many snakes left out in the forest to bite us that we haven't seen before. Are there gifts that come with our advancing age? I definitely feel like there are. I definitely feel like for me and our clients and the people we know, there really have been a lot of gifts. And it's hard to see them that way because we're very influenced by, well, society doesn't like older people. Well, then let's remake society. There's a lot of us, right? There's a lot of us. Now, look, what are the hurdles? Because there's hurdles. We already mentioned age discrimination. And age discrimination is just one subset of a general set of negative stereotypes that a lot of people have about folks who are not young and gorgeous and fit and wearing a tank top and boy shorts. Okay. Right. I left that club a minute ago. So there are stereotypes out there that people of a certain age can't learn new things, and people of a certain age, it's hard to work with them because I don't know what to talk about. There are so many dumb, just pointless and destructive ideas and stereotypes, and we don't discuss them as much as we should, because if we discuss them and got them out into the sunlight, we would see how absurd and ridiculous they are. There are concerns, someone mentioned, that people of a certain age might have health problems or might not be able to learn technology. Like this technology here, apps on the phone is complicated. And I can't figure out how to do Twitter. Hello, what? I mean, but sometimes we do have obstacles and hurdles learning stuff, and we can surmount them. And it would be ridiculous for any organization or any hiring manager or recruiter to say, oh, well, I'm afraid of this candidate because they're old. Really? Because all they did during that time was gather experience and wisdom. And this is where I say maybe you don't have time to talk to that person if they even hint at a concern about your age, literally your accumulation of wisdom on the planet. Yeah, see ya, bye. Because not every recruiter is qualified or deserving of representing you, right? And not every employer deserves you, right? Not every hiring manager deserves you. Older you get, I hope that some of that realization seeps in and you say, yeah, what am I rolling over and playing submissive dog on an interview to please someone? I have no one to please. I'm going to be in myself and my power, and I'm going to go to these interviews and we're going to have conversations, and it's going to resonate with somebody. And I believe that's going to happen because, that is the way that I carry myself. I'm not looking to contort myself into pretzel shapes to please anybody. I got to please myself and the people that I care about. So we have three big hurdles for a lot of folks as we reach certain ages, 45, 50, 55, whatever. One is the specific external set of concerns that is centers on, age discrimination, but it also includes just general misgivings or stereotypes or baggage about our age. So that's number one. Number two, very important, is our own internalized concerns about our age. Am I good enough, Liz? Do you think could I still, do you think I'm too old? I get that email from 42-year-olds. Do you think I'm too old? Honey, You're not too old for anything. You're too old to dance in the Bolshoi ballet. You're too old to become a ballerina now at age 42. Probably you could do it locally, probably not on the international stage. And you're too old to I don't know, go in youth beauty pageants. You're too old to do a few physical things, but you're really not too old to do very much at all, right? At most ages, if you can function, you can do what you want to do. And people do. 60s, 70s, 80s, they're out there and it's beautiful to see. And if you're not getting exposed to those influences, people who are making their own destiny and doing what they want to do at all ages, find them. I really encourage you to seek them out on YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and everywhere, and get inspiration from people who are reinventing what it means to be 50, 60, 70, 80. They're not going to let somebody else dictate. When my grandma with an apron making cookies at age 60, God bless. I mean, she had a great career and great life, but we don't get nobody gets to dictate what 50, 60, 70, 80 looks like for us. That's new territory. We get to define it, right? So one obstacle we said was age discrimination or external concerns about us because of our age. A second consideration or obstacle is our own concerns. Those are real. That's what really keeps people up at night, more so than not getting a job and figuring it must be age discrimination, which it could be many things besides that, right? We're going to not get most of the jobs we apply for, no matter who you are. You're going to not get most of the jobs that you go after. It's not necessarily age discrimination, but of course, our brain says it must be age discrimination, right? And we have to say, so even if it is, I still need to get up, take a deep breath, center myself, maybe read my journal or something else that's inspirational, and carry on. And I will sail through this and I will prevail. I know that I will. And then there's a third obstacle, and that obstacle could be our process. So we have these misgivings and doubts implanted in our brains about hitting 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago from other people, but also our process for getting our consulting business going or getting a new job could be not amazing. Now look, just like I told you that it's no shame or blame, it's no surprise if you have some negative thoughts and feelings about your age, because we've literally been indoctrinated into the idea that we sort of lose power or steam over time. Absurd, ridiculous, right? Similarly, with your process, if you know your resume is not amazing, or you know that the way you're applying for jobs, not really getting it, it's not your fault, because this is what we were all taught. That's the reason I started our company and I started writing and speaking about these topics, is because so much of what I saw just churned out on every media outlet. It was so bad. The job search advice and career advice, so negative and so demeaning and insulting and stupid. We don't have to roll over and be the submissive dog to get a job. It's the worst way to get a job, because all that's going to do is attract the wrong people. And you don't want to attract the wrong people. You want to attract the right people, smart and sparky people like you, who are going to, be pulling their oars in the same direction as you, and see what you bring and how you can help them reach their goals. But so out of these three hurdles, external concerns and lack of validation, that obstacle, age discrimination, plus our own concerns and doubts and fears, and then our process, we control two out of the three. We control the two biggest ones. The one thing we can't control, what other people think what you want. Think what you want. God bless. Woohoo. Blessings on your path. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. That's it. I don't have time. Don't have time. Do not lay in bed saying, what didn't they like about me? Who literally cares? They're no one. No offense. They're someone to their friends and family, but they're no one to you. Off you go. Somebody else. If rejection, what we used to call rejection, now we're calling redirection. I got redirected. The thing I thought I wanted was not the thing. I had 3 interviews for that job. I didn't get the job. What am I going to do? Sit around and analyze? No. Off to the next thing. I got redirected. And I trust whoever redirected me. Mother Nature, laws of physics, God, whoever. I trust them. So we've got a lot of control in this reinvention, control over our breathing, control over our ability to calm ourselves, to get into our best thinking. A big one is control over who gets our precious time, because not everyone will support your reinvention. Have you noticed this? Even people who love you and who have known you your whole life will say, just take the first job you can get. You don't have to reinvent. Just get a job, get another job, get a job just like the one you had. No, mom, I don't want a job just like the one I had. I was bored in that job. I've been telling you for years. I know, just get a job. Because your mom is afraid for you, or your sister, or your cousin, or your dad, whoever, right? They're afraid for you. Fear is always in the mix. And people around us get afraid and they say, don't reinvent. No, it's time to reinvent. Believe me, I'm a hermit crab and this shell is killing me. And if they let me loose, this company sent me away with my walking papers, as they say, with my pink slip. You know, I'm going to take this opportunity to look around the beach and see what's better. I am not going to run to the first available shell. I've done that too much. Now I'm speaking up and I'm deciding for myself and I'm taking charge of my career and my life, and I'm going to do what I want, Mom. So you got to trust me. Okay. I'm 50. I know what I'm doing. Right? Speaking up and stepping out, that's how we grow our muscles. In fact, the way to align with whatever energy is putting you in reinvention mode is number one, to get centered and calm in yourself. If it helps to walk, if it helps to do yoga, to meditate, cook, what helps you? Organize your spice drawer, go through closets, plant in the garden, ride your bike. What helps you? Dancing. Figure out what helps you get centered and do it as much as you possibly can. Because in your busy brain, what about this? What about that? Doesn't help you. Literally sucks away, saps away your precious energy. I don't want that for you. Deep breathing. I'm in reinvention, you guys. It's crazy. It's going to be fine. It's a whirlwind. I'd be happy to tell you about it, but I know I'm gonna be great on the other side, stronger and more like myself. I'm working towards something. I don't even know what it is, but I'm following my path, and that's a really important thing to do. I'm listening to a little voice inside me that says, I think you want to look into this. I think you want to check with that person. But you got to surround yourself as much as possible with people who support you, because unfortunately, a lot of folks have trouble with their loved ones and close friends in reinvention. They will try to get you back in the tiny little shell that is too small. They'll say, you don't need to reinvent. One of the problems is they're afraid for you financially. Another problem is if you reinvent and become a different version of yourself, what does it mean for our friendship? We've known each other since high school, right? We used to go to concerts together. You can't change. No, I have to change. I still love you, but I have to change. It's time to change. The change is already happening. By the time you're conscious of it, the change is well underway. You're into that clover leaf and you're going to go onto a new highway. And you got to let it happen. Write in your journal. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself in reinvention, because it is a physical process and it can be grueling, it can be exhausting. You're going to have dreams in reinvention, dreams about when you were a little kid, things that you used to think about. Memories come up, capture them in your journal. It's such a fertile, creative time. And I want you to get all of that juice and all of that spark. So in that state of being relaxed as much as you can be, when you're not sure what the future is like, but you're not panicking, write in your journal and start to get altitude on your situation. What does it mean? It means perspective. Where have I been over all these years since I started working? Or even go back further to your childhood, your infancy. What do I remember? Who was important to me? What have the influences on me been in my life? Where have I traveled? You could draw a path. We have, I'm sure, some download somewhere that says, let me retrace my steps and see what I've learned and what I've experienced and what I've taught and what I've contributed over the years. And what have I been curious about? And what am I curious about now? Maybe there's a clue there for what I should be doing next. So you're going to start by centering yourself in your body. And then you're going to get altitude on your situation with an eye toward getting clues, getting information about where your path leads. Then you're going to surround yourself with the people who support you and get you. And that might mean limiting your time with people who have been very, very close to you. But if they're not the right energy for reinvention, you might want to limit your time with them because they can really bring you down. Maybe you've experienced this. It's very common for family members to say, "Oh, your reinvention. You don't need to reinvent. Just get that job down over this thing." They're not fans of your reinvention, and that's a hard energy to fight against. And you might want to limit your time or say, "I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about everything else, but let's not talk about my reinvention because it's kind of a personal process. I need time to manage through that." Right? If you're changing jobs or you're starting a business, you're going to brand yourself out of your knowledge of yourself. You're going to brand yourself very differently than you might have even just a year ago because you're going to allow yourself to think about new personas that you could step into, a new version of yourself. It might be a different haircut. It might be different clothes. It might be, who knows? Everything can change. And that's what's scary and wonderful about reinvention. All right. I'm going to take a break. We have a few minutes. I'm going to look at questions here in the chat. So if you have a question for me, type it into the chat if you would. Surround yourself with powerful wisdom for sure. Oh, I love it. Leslie says caterpillars turn to goo before they emerge as a butterfly. Ooh, are we goo? They find shells next to them and even fight over them. They don't run across the beach with no shell. Okay. They do. I've seen them. I've seen them, my darling. Yeah. Step up, take it up. Walking through my difficult reinvention physical process. The mind is not as acute. Oh, I'm going to argue with you there, Kevin, my friend. The mind is acute. There's a great book about the middle-aged brain, and it says the short-term memory is the thing we often say, what's that word? Where'd I leave my keys, right? But the mind is acute. We get the wisdom and the depth because there's so many neural pathways forged that we are able to put things together in new ways. The middle-aged brain is formidable. It's mighty. It's not less acute, right? It's not less acute. Okay. I have a book about reinvention, by the way. It's called Reinvention Roadmap. If you left a comment, I will comment back with the link. And actually, there's another link I wanted to share with you. Let me find it. Just give me a second here. I have a link that I got in order to share it with you, and then I forgot to put it in the comments. And it's a link to our calendar, my colleague Michael's calendar, because if you want to talk about the stuff, so it's down here. You'll just see a little link, Human Workplace. You want to talk about your career if you're interested in getting our help, career coaching, with your reinvention, with your job search, and you're not sure how to proceed, and you'd like that guidance as you go through the implementation. How do I figure out what I want to do? How do I brand myself? How do I approach companies? There must be a better way. Yes, of course there is. Luckily, there is a better way. So that's the link to schedule a call, actually, to get on the phone and talk about career coaching. And I'll find the link to Reinvention Roadmap, but it's a book on Amazon called Reinvention Roadmap. Break the rules to get the job you want and career you deserve. And it's a book all about what I've been saying today. There's the link, Calendly, the scheduling link. Okay, let's see what else we got. Reinvention Roadmap. Rosemary is great for memory. I didn't know that. That's huge. That's awesome. Might have to get some rosemary. Kind of in the mode now. If I can't remember, I guess it's not that important. But I might be unique in that. Okay, let's see. Okay, we've got our links. We're just about out of time. So, any questions or thoughts or comments about anything we've been talking about today? I really want you to feel your power as you hit 50 and 60 and 70 and all of these ages. I want you to feel what's significant about you and what you've done. Because here's the thing, nobody's going to value you more than you value yourself. No one is going to see your potential more than you do. Maybe when we're 21, somebody will say, I see potential in that person. But now at this age, we have to feel it. We have to feel it and we have to know what it is. We have to know how we can help. We would say in our language, a human workplace, we have to know what kind of pain we solve. We have to know what kind of pain we solve for our clients or our employers, because they are not going to, tell us how we can help them. We have to come armed with some of that knowledge, just based on our experience in other organizations and other situations, right? We have to be able to talk about pain and pain relief. Now, over the years, we've been taught to talk about skills. I have these skills, those skills. I think it's great to talk about skills when we're talking about technical skills, Microsoft Office suite or whatever, or programming skills or troubleshooting or whatever, creating databases. But when it comes to you in operating and making a difference in your job, I don't want you to talk about skills. I have communication skills. I have negotiation skills. No, everybody says that. That's lame. I want you to tell a story, right? We talked about that on a few of these LinkedIn Live sessions. And believe me, I'll be talking about it again. But yeah, we're going to tell stories. They have 1,000 times more weight than I have skills. Doesn't really mean anything. Tell us how you took those skills off the shelf and used them to good effect. Now I'm paying attention. Now it's like a movie playing in my head while I'm reading your resume. So that is that, and that's our topic, and we're out of time. Reinvention after 50. So if we can be helpful in terms of career coaching, use that link to. Oh, thank you so much, Leah, for posting the link to the book Reinvention Roadmap. Yeah, we're here. Leave a comment if you haven't already, and have a great, great week. You can always reach me on LinkedIn, and we'll be back next Thursday. And if you have ideas for that talk or any of our other LinkedIn Live sessions, I would love to hear them. So have a great, great, great weekend. And just remember, you're awesome. Just keep growing your flame. Thanks.